Well, this is my video about Master VoG because, well, everyone's made one, and I figured I would try to take my perspective and do it. And I still see people complaining about Master VoG, so maybe this will help some people. I'll be talking about some obvious issues with Master VoG, and then addressing some of the more common requests made by the community to Bungie, and explain why most of these requests are pretty bad or uninsightful. As far as I see, there are 3 incentives for Master VoG. First, the flair of completing Master VoG. This includes stuff like ship, the title, basically the prestige of completing Master VoG. 2. The time-lost weapons, which are essentially the adept versions of the raid weapons, which have a unique default shader and say time-lost in their name, and can equip adept mods. And third but not least, the god-rolled armor chase. First off, the issues with Master VoG. My first issue I see with Master VoG is that each encounter should only drop armor. Each week Master VoG has a different stat skew towards armor. What this does is make all armor that comes from Master VoG tend to drop towards this stat, and typically in my experience, these armors have had very high stat totals. Now this is really good. This actually begins to address something I've been saying since Armor 2.0. Players need to have a better control over their armor stats, and this sort of helps with that issue. However, when you complete an encounter of Master VoG and go to regular VoG weapon rather than armor, then you're completely missing out on this design. So in short, every encounter should drop armor and only armor in Master VoG, except for the time-lost weapon, which obviously comes from the challenge in Master VoG. This issue breaks the incentive of god-rolled armor, however not extremely, as the armor you purchase at the end of the raid will also drop with those distributions. So when you purchase armor, you can easily get god-rolled armor, thus it's not really that bad with Master VoG, but it is sort of a little issue here and there that each encounter doesn't drop armor every time. My second issue with Master VoG is it doesn't have contest enabled. Since Master VoG doesn't have contest enabled, players have the option of substituting skill for power levels. If it isn't obvious why this is a problem, let me break it down for you. If one of the primary incentives for completing Master VoG is flair to say, hey, look what I was able to accomplish, can be acquired without having to be good at the game, then what is the point of the flair in the first place? Another example is the flawless title. Now you would think that most people that have the title are good at PvP, but then you start to think about cheaters, recovs, carries, etc., and then you start to devalue that value as time goes on. I'm not saying they're in exactly the same thing, I'm just saying it's a similar position with the Master VoG flair, because a player could either be good at the game, or simply have left their character AFK in the thrall wave to farm XP while they aren't even playing. The simplest solution to this is to just enable contest at the average power of those who complete a full run of Master VoG. Those are really the only things I see wrong with Master VoG at this moment. Subtle changes could be implemented, but all in all, I think Master VoG is a pretty good state. Now I will address some of the more common community requests with Master VoG. Make all weapon drops time-lost weapons. This is the most common thing I see when I go on Reddit, and I'm getting sick and tired of it. The entire reason that each time-lost weapon drops from the challenge is to be a reward for doing that challenge. If you could earn a time-lost weapon just for completing an encounter randomly, then what is the point? Because Master VoG is not that hard when you aren't doing the challenge. The whole point of me being able to see someone has the Vision of Confluence time lost shows to me that they were able to complete Conflux challenges. The whole point of the Hazine Vengeance time lost is that they completed another encounter on the challenge. The whole point is that you're showing people that, hey, look, I was good enough to complete this encounter on Master with the challenge enabled. And then other people will be able to see that and say, oh, okay, I know what kind of skill level you are. That's the point of it, people. It's not so that, it's not because, oh, I'm gatekeeping and I don't want people to get it. It's the whole point is to show off, what you're capable of. That's the entire point of time-lost weapons. It's the entire point of adept weapons. It's the entire point of going flawless. That's a big part of these types of social games, is that you're trying to show off your skill level to other players. Just accept that. While we're here, why don't you go ahead and smash that like button. The second common complaint I keep hearing from people is something along the lines of, players shouldn't be gatekept from Master VoG because they didn't grind bounties. I fully understand this sentiment, but I have to think of the people that keep saying this kind of thing. Let me put this in my perspective. I typically don't play Destiny that often within a week. Maybe 8 hours a week, let's say. In that time, I'm able to be Grandmaster ready by the time GMs are available, and it just so happens that I was able to complete a Master VoG at that same power level. Oh yeah, and did I forget to mention that I don't do bounties? That isn't to say that I have never picked up a bounty in my life, but typically just leveling up from the season challenges, that's how I level up. I'm tired of this myth of having to grind bounties constantly. Bounties are really helpful for getting a ton of XP in a short amount of time, but they are certainly not necessary to do things in the game. Like, I get it, 8 hours to some people in a week, that might be a lot, that might be less than some people, but, you know, if you enjoy something, you're going to find time to do it. Like, the common joke is, oh, I have a family, I have 4 families, and 3 wives, and I have 8 jobs. Like, that's a joke because people keep keep trying to say this, like, line of, like, oh, I don't have time to do this. It's like, most people, things they enjoy, they're going to find time to do those things, regardless of other commitments. Like, yes, people have commitments, nobody's saying that. People don't. Like, most people in the world have a job. Like, somehow most people that play this game find a way to do things that they enjoy. I'm just saying, like, I'm tired of hearing the excuses, people. And the final one can sort of be summed up in this description. The loot just isn't worth the effort. Fair, but I disagree. Just stop asking for everything to be made easier so that everyone can get a turn. If you don't like the loot, then don't play it. It's as simple as that. Just like if you don't like the Trials Adept loot, don't go play Trials. Like, that's what most people do. Most people don't care about Trials because they don't want the loot. That's all there can be really said. If you don't like the loot, don't do it. No one's making you do it. So stop trying to, you know, take things away from other people because you don't like it. Basically, the heart of all the common complaints towards Master VoG seem to come from those who it was not intended for, and simply have become accustomed to things being served to them on a silver platter both in video games and in real life. Because the simple truth of the matter is that Master VoG wasn't made for everyone, and that's fine. It was made for those who actually enjoy a challenge where they have to think and plan their loadout, and actually utilize mods correctly, and that doesn't describe a large portion of the Destiny community, sadly. Let me put it again in my perspective. I'm someone that gets on the game. I'll do the story stuff because I want to do just see how the story's going along. It's interesting. You know, Bungie's writing, it's getting a lot better. I'm starting to enjoy the new seasonal delivery of story content. So I get on, I do that stuff, and then I do the weekly raid with my clan and my friends. And that's basically it until Grandmasters come out. When Grandmasters come out, I kind of get back into the rhythm of playing the game and start grinding Grandmasters for the new weapons and stuff. And, like, yes, I'll look for a good PvP gun here and there. I actually played some PvP, and I enjoy PvP to an extent. But that's also because I'm not looking at PvP as, like, this hyper-competitive arena shooter where I'm gonna become some MLG pro god person and get paid $1 million. Because that's not happening with Destiny. Let me be the first to break that news to you. Destiny's not going to be a competitive game in that sense. So, like, the only thing I really enjoy are the hard things of the game. And it frustrates me so bad whenever people that don't actually do this stuff complain that it's not easy enough for them to do or to complete. Because it wasn't designed for them, frankly. It wasn't designed for the people asking for things to be made easier, frankly. Look, it's one thing to say, like, okay, the game is literally broken in this aspect, like, it's bugged. For example, on Master Voltiglass, during Confluxes, on the right side where the wyverns spawn, this is a fair criticism. The wyverns on the right side will just kind of, like, walk around and just, like, kill you. They won't even try to sacrifice unless both people on the right side are, like, behind the conflux to the right. Like, that's buggy. That's a buggy nature. That's not saying, like, oh, it's too hard. That's saying, like, this isn't fair because their AI is broken, or they weren't designed to be in this small space. Because sometimes they'll jump up and just teleport behind you. Like, everyone knows what I'm talking about with, like, enemies teleporting and stuff. Like, that's a fair criticism right there. Like, saying, like, the structure of the game has an issue in this aspect. But then when you go and say, like, oh, I have to grind bounties, it's like, you don't have to grind bounties. You have to play every once in a while. It's not made for people that literally get on an hour a week, and go into the patrols. It's really weird that, like, 25% of the player base, all they do is play in the patrol space. That's weird to me. Like, how is that enjoyable? Like, that's so mind-numbing. Like, don't you want to think? Like, I don't know. That's just me. And that's what I'm saying. Like, there's so little content in the game like this. I'm asking people to, like, stop complaining about this. If this wasn't designed for you, it's not designed for you. Like, it's one thing to actually enjoy this content, and then it's another thing to want to take that enjoyment from other people. Like, you know, if you don't like Master VoG, don't try to get it ruined for the people that do like where it is, because there are a lot of people that do like where it is, and there are a lot of people that do it. Now, that percent, you could look at that percentage of player base, that's going to be small, because the amount of people that actually enjoy challenge in Destiny is so small. Because Destiny is a very big game, very broad game, has a very approachable name to it. They made it free to play, for God's sakes. Like, if that's not to say that they're trying to go for a mass appeal audience, then nothing is. So, this is my request to the community. Please stop complaining about Master VoG in the sense that, like, it's too hard, because it's not. It's actually fairly easy. The only encounters that are hard are the challenges, and that's the intended goal. Like, that's the point of it. So please, 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 don't take this away from the people that actually enjoy it.